Yes. All right. Scatterplots are the best way to study the relationship between two quantitative variables. Time plots show trends over time. And just something to notice is that both of these look similar. All right, so drawing scatter plots to match the condition. So you may be asked to do something like this on the concept part, potentially, of your quiz or test. So if something has little to no association, we kind of just have dots all over the place, just randomly scattered around. If it's a moderate negative linear association, then it's going to still kind of look like a line, but they're going to be a little more spread out. And the negative would be dealing with like the slope of it, so going downward. A strong nonlinear association. So it would be really tightly packed, but maybe look more like a curve. Kind of like parabolic in nature. The explanatory variable would be x, and that's also known as the independent variable or predictor variable. And the response variable is y, or the dependent variable. So these next ones are going to be kind of like the problems that we did with the histograms, like just keep going back to the same one, like the ages of like the people at a Little League game, like how there were like potentially some different ways you could like go about those problems in like terms of how you drew it. These ones could kind of be a similar thing where it could be a little different based on just like how you interpret it. So just be aware of that, but the two that are on here are pretty much one option. So suppose you were to collect data for each pair of variables. You want to make a scatter plot Which variable would you use as a response variable and why? And what would you expect to see in the scatter plot? Discuss the likely direction, form, and strength. Draw a picture to represent the scatter plot. So, just set up scatter plots. And then off to the side, we'll talk about what each thing is. So, we're looking at t-shirts at a store. And the variables are price and the number sold. So which do you think would be the explanatory variable and which is the response variable?
Wait, so why is the one going up, right?
Yes.
Okay,
So basically, which one do you think affects the other?
X affects Y?
I'm talking about this problem.
Oh, this was, okay.
X will always affect Y. Yes, that's why we're trying to label them.
The price affects, or the number sold affects
The other way around. So the higher the price, what do you think is going to happen?
the less sold,
The less sold, the lower the price,
the
the more sold. Okay, so you basically just completely answered this question. Okay, because price is going to be the X, so it's going to be down here. Number sold is going to be the Y. And so the lower the price, the higher the number sold. And the higher the price, the less that are sold. So it'll look kind of like that. All right, so what would we say about the direction, form, and strength?
Negative.
Negative.
maybe moderately strong.
Negative. Yeah, I would say moderately strong.
Wait, why do you say moderately strong?
Because it's like pretty tightly packed, but there's a little bit of,
Could
separation.
Yeah.
And what else?
Linear.
Linear. All right, the next one, all elementary students weight score on a reading test.
The weight affects the score affects the weight. The weight.
Oh wait, is
Wait, we're not talking about like pounds, right?
it's not like grade weight, right?
Oh, okay.
Wait, you think it meant the student weight?
For a second.
Every class I've ever had always thinks it means the weight of the student. They're like, I don't know, does the chunky ones do better and the skinny ones do worse? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to know that actually.
I was kind of thinking that it was the actual weight affects the score, and like it would be very not strong.
Huh? Wait, I'm trying to understand what you're
Because
saying.
like the weight doesn't really do much with the score.
Oh.
So like it wouldn't be a strong whatever it's called, because the chunky kids can do just as well as the skinny kids.
You don't know that. It's never been studied.
Yeah.
Somebody might have studied it.
Maybe the chunky kids do better.
I feel like
They just
that's
have
I
so
could
much
see it.
food just flowing through their body, you know?
They have all
I bet
the-
it was
they have
smarter
all
when I
of
was
their-
fatter.
They have all of their
Yes. This would be like the weight of the test,
like they store all of their knowledge.
not like their body weight.
They store all of their knowledge. there.
Well, 'cause it's like,
That's
when you
what
think about
when
it, you think
Virginia
about
goes to
your
answer it, I'm
brain,
like,
you know?
I think she's thinking body weight.
Like they store all
I'm
of the
proud of
knowledge
myself
in
for
the
not thinking that.
cores.
You're one of the first people to ever not think that.
Wait, actually, this is an honor.
Chakras.
Thanks.
Everyone was like, What?
What?
Okay, so what do we think is the X and the Y?
So X would be. So it's between weight and score in a reading test.
Yep.
That's
The
the
two
only
options.
I know. If I had to guess one,
You just tried to blow past it, Siri's like,
I was hoping nobody would notice that.
I'm gonna say the weight is X. Yay.
That's not what I was gonna
No,
say.
yes.
I mean, I would have said the weight is X,
Good for you, Dougie.
regardless of what kind of weight it was.
And what do we think this is gonna look like?
Wouldn't it be like
Don't they like
the other
not
way?
really affect each other? Like, wouldn't it just really spread out? Or do they affect each other?
So I would say they would have a little bit of an effect, but not like a ton. So I would say probably like moderately weak, to be honest. So if I was gonna do this, I would probably spread them out a little bit so that you can still see that there is like a pattern, but they're spread. Because I would say the higher that it's like the weight of it, the better the score, like kind of, or that it's like directly proportional. So like the more that it's weighted, the higher, like,
The
I
more
don't
they'll
know.
try on it.
Yeah, kind
So
of.
it's moderately weak, and then is that a non? Wait, is that like
So this would be
still
a
linear?
positive, linear, and I would say moderately weak.
So it's basically strong like the closer it is together, right? Like that.
And I would also note with this one too, like it could have outliers. Like we don't know, but it could.
Why do you say that?
Just because like, I mean, really you could say that about anything, but like test scores, like we just really don't know. Like there's not enough information for us to really know like how much they're like related, if you will. So like it could be that it's weighted more and it stresses the students out more so they don't do as well. So like that the point is actually like way down here. Like we just don't know. So I could really say even with this one, well, somebody might really, really like a shirt that's like $100 and so like they're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
But
Rich people.
at the same time, like I don't know. So like I could really say that about any of them. If you didn't put that, like I wouldn't take off. I'm looking for these things here when you do this. So okay.
Are they gonna give us more information on these kind of graphs ever, or is it gonna kind of stay like?
It's just gonna be like that.
Okay.
But normally they're like you could figure them out or you could argue why you put it that way. Like I could see this one, the weight and even the score on the test, like I would do X as weight and the Y as the score on the test, but honestly you could flip them and they probably, you know.
Will the direction change if we flipped it?
No, because
Okay.
it's staying the same, like, because it's basically like a 1-to-1.
Okay.
Now, the reason that typically, like, the weight of something is going to affect the score, whereas the score is not going to affect the weight. The weight's, like, already going to be set.
Right.
The score is what's going to change. That's really why it's that way. But if you had done them the other way, like, I could probably have argued that as well. But this makes more sense. So. All right, correlation. This is the strength of the linear association between two quantitative variables So R can be from -1 to 1. An absolute value of R close to 1 would be a very strong linear association. An absolute value of R that's approximately 0 is no linear association. And I'm going to go ahead and write the, what I would deem strong, moderate, weak on under here. Sometimes I write it on the next page, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it here. So all the note type stuff's together. So if it's plus or minus 0.8, so anywhere from 0.8 to 1, okay, or negative 0.8 to negative 1, I would say that is strong. So I guess I should say above that. And then plus or minus 0.2, so below that value, so between 0 and that, I would say is weak. And then anything in the middle would be moderate. But what I do is as it gets closer, if it was 0.75, I would say moderately strong. Okay, if it's 0.25, I would say it's moderately weak. So I just kind of get engage in there, what do I think it is, when I'm explaining it. But that's kind of the gauge that I would use for it. I don't think your book has an exact value of where we start to classify it as one or the other. But on the exam, if you were explaining it, it's going to be around in that area. If you say moderately strong and they're saying strong, I don't think they're going to take off for that because, you've included that term. I would say just flat out moderate would just be kind of in that middle, 0.4 to 0.6-ish range probably. But again, I'm not overly picky about that. This is more just so you can see how to gauge what you're calling things. So, next page, another question that you could see. So, any of these little things like this, with the scatter plot, the explanatory variables, this correlation stuff, that could be a concept. Well, really, anything on this first page could be a concept type question you'd see on the concept part, because none of this has required us to do any math yet. And same thing here with number 3. That is something you could also see on the concept part. So they want us to draw a scatter plot to represent the following correlations. So I'm going to go ahead and draw them all. Now what I like to do when I do these is to go ahead and discuss how I would describe these things before I even go about drawing them. So if you have a correlation coefficient of negative 0.978, how would we explain that? Strong, what else? What direction is it going?
Negative.
Strong negative, and what shape?
Negative? Wait, so down?
Linear?
Yeah, linear.
Oh.
I don't think negative and down actually.
Yeah.
Now, they pretty much are all going to be linear for the sake of what we're doing, unless you see one that's explicitly curved, like the one that we looked at earlier. But anytime it's something like this, they're going to be linear, or there's going to be no association, so it's not going to be linear at all.
Wait, so how are we gonna know it's curved? What's kind of the...
They're gonna have to give it to you curved.
Okay.
Like in the previous one where we had the one that was curved, or it said a curved or something. I think it said curved, so we drew it curved.
Okay.
So this one would be, I would say, super tightly packed together. So something like that might be, you see a point here and there that's a little bit off because it's obviously not perfectly -1, but they're very tightly packed there. What about B, 0.764? What would we classify this one as?
Moderately strong.
Yep, moderately strong.
Positive and linear.
Yep, moderately strong, positive, linear. So this one, still pretty tightly packed, but a little bit of spread, and it's going positive. So notice I've got them still pretty tightly packed, but I also did put a little bit of a spread in there for that moderately strong part. What about this last one? 0.011. Very, very weak. It's almost what?
0.
It's almost 0, so I would really say like no association on this one probably. So basically just there's nothing to it. So you would say no or weak just because it's almost 0. All right, so all of that stuff that we've had so far could be on the concept part. We're moving into more of, I'm going to say the math part. There's really not any math, though, until example 8. So this next one's one that I'm more inclined to give it to you on the math part. Could hypothetically get it on the concept part if I needed to like throw another question on there to kind of even out the points or whatever. Or if I feel like the math's going to take a long time, then I may throw this up on the other part just so that you get it out of the way. But looking at antidepressants, a study compared the effectiveness of several antidepressants by examining experiments in which they had passed FDA requirements. Each of those experiments compared the active drug to a placebo, which is just like a sugar pill usually, an inert pill given to some patients. In each experiment, some patients treated with a placebo improved, a phenomenon called the placebo effect, which we'll talk more about in coming sections as well. Patients' depression levels were evaluated on the Hamilton Depression Rating Scale, where larger numbers indicate greater improvement. The scatter plot below compares the mean improvement levels for the antidepressants and the placebo in several experiments. Is it appropriate to calculate the correlation and explain? So basically with this, I'm looking at, do I have quantitative variables? So are those things quantitative? Yes, because we have the improvement scales for both, so that's quantitative. And then does it look linear? Yeah. So we would say yes. Quantitative variables. And it's linear. Now, you'll notice this dot up here that's like partially circled. What do you think that could be in this graph? Yeah. I would just say we don't know, but I would say it's a possible outlier that may affect a later part of the question. But we're looking at, we have the placebo improvement and then the drug improvement on this scale, so that's where these numbers are coming from. So the correlation, they tell us, is 0.898. Explain what we have learned about the results of these experiments. So just the 0.898, what does that tell us about this?
Its correlation is strong.
Strong, what else?
And positive.
And linear?
Yep. So a strong positive linear association. Between placebo improvement, and drug improvement. So, can't talk. So when it's asking us to explain what we've learned about the results of the experiment, basically, what I can say is it appears that on the placebo, people had improvement, right? Like we see that it's going up. And then on the drug, people also had improvement, is also going up. Okay? So what I can conclude from this is that essentially, if the placebo works for somebody, the drug's also going to work for them. Because, well, not to put it this way, but if a placebo works, it means it's pretty much all in your head. So, which isn't necessarily good for this particular example. But it's, like if somebody gives you medicine for a headache, there are some people that refuse to take medicine for a headache because they believe it's all in your head. That, literally and figuratively. But that, you can mentally overcome the fact that you have a headache. And so they're like, oh, I'm not going to take medicine because medicine doesn't really work to get rid of a headache. They're like, it actually is just mental and you just believe that it's going to work and so it works.
Yeah.
Which, for some people, maybe.
Yeah, there is kind of a cool study about that, about just thinking and getting into a certain headspace will just make you not feel certain kinds of pain, but it's still real pain. It's
Yeah.
still there.
Well, and obviously there are legitimate causes for a headache. So
Right.
I think you just kind of have to know, yourself, or if you're a parent, your kid or whatever, to know do they really need this or are they just trying to get medicine kind of thing. But that's what I was going to say. Some people will just give you a sugar pill or something like that. Or, if you have a migraine, they're like, well, I'm going to give you a caffeine pill. Most migraine medicine just has caffeine in it.
That's it?
A lot of it, yeah. 50% of the pill is caffeine. Which is just interesting because it's okay, so it's kind of almost like saying it's in your head, but also, there is a direct relation to caffeine and migraines, I'm sure, based on why, the FDA has allowed them to put that in Excedrin. That's the main ingredient in
I feel
Excedrin.
lack of caffeine just made it worse. It shows.
For some people, caffeine makes them worse. For some people, it doesn't. So when I took Excedrin when I had a migraine, it did nothing.
Yeah.
For me, since I can't take Excedrin, I just drink a Mountain Dew, and it helps it so much better.
Yeah, and
Some
so
people-
yours probably is mine's not affected by caffeine. If I have them, I don't get them that often, obviously, but
I think when I had
it just doesn't
more
work.
caffeine, when I would get off of it, I had a lot more brain fog and stuff.
It takes a little bit. You have to get your body out of that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get really bad headaches because they'll quit cold turkey.
Yeah.
If you're drinking 3 cups a day, you can't just stop it altogether.
Right.
You've got to drop slowly, or you're going to end up having those kinds of things happening. So, all that to say though, a lot of this stuff is placebo things, right? And so we'll see that a lot more with stats because that's a lot of, I said we do a lot with drugs, alcohol, and it's going to be placebos. It's the other one that we'll see of comparing if things actually work or not. That's where stats is often used, is in the medical field. So anyways, so all that to say, if a patient shows improvement, with the placebo, they are likely to show improvement with the drug. Which, to a point, makes me think that this drug doesn't actually work very well.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if a placebo works, you don't need an actual drug, so. Just kind of funny, but.
That should just be a thing, just fake drugs that they sell. Because, I wonder how much of, people's stuff is in their head.
I think that a lot of medicine, that is really what it is.
For real?
Not Sudafed,
Right,
obviously.
right.
But things like that, I think a lot of it is,
The habit.
or like I tell people, like when when COVID first was like really big, and they were doing all the testing to try to find like medicine to help people with it and all this other stuff, because like a lot of medicine was just to treat your symptoms, but they were trying to find something that would help. My aunt has asthma and she had a heart issue, and so they wanted her as a candidate for this new drug that they were testing out. It was an IV drug. So she had to go or they came to her like once a day for like 30 minutes or something, whatever it was. And they said that because she was like the perfect candidate for what they were looking for. And so, but they told her, they said it could be a placebo or it could be, a low, medium, or high version of this drug. We're trying to figure out what it takes to help, and we want to know if it's going to help people that like have different conditions. So like you're a perfect candidate. So they asked her to do it. So she was like, sure. Like, I mean, they didn't have anything else to do, so she was like, why not? And then, but the limitation was you couldn't use a lot of other stuff to help treat your symptoms. It was supposed to mainly just be this, from my understanding. And so like several days in, like nothing's happening, like no help at all. And we're all starting to get a little worried because she has asthma, and like we didn't want her to end up in the hospital, because that was at the time when like if you were in the hospital, like nobody could come see you, and it was just. And so finally she was like, I need to stop this, like it's not helping, and like I'm not getting better. And she was like, I'm just scared that I'm gonna get worse if I just continue. And they were monitoring it, like they weren't gonna let it get out of hand or anything, but you also don't want to go like 5 or 6 days and end up with pneumonia when you could have treated it on day 1 and been totally fine. And so when it was all said and done, they came back and said, you had the placebo. We're like, for somebody that was a perfect candidate, why did you give them the placebo?
Right.
That was everything that you wanted. But we'll talk more about that in later sections, because we'll talk about having different kinds of blinding where like the doctor may not have known what she was getting, where they may have just sent a bag that just said, this is product number 1, and so he may not have known what he was prescribing, if you will, but somebody that's running the analysis of them would have been like, when they came back and said, oh, well, you just had the placebo, that's why it didn't work. So it's like sometimes you don't know.
They have so great anatomy like that, where like she switched who had the placebo because she wanted someone else to like get the real drug, and she like got got in trouble or something.
Yeah, because that's why a lot of times like they're like I said, we'll talk about, there'll be a blind, like single blind, where you don't know what you're getting, but the doctor knows, but then there can also be double blind where the doctor doesn't know either. And so then like whoever's running the study will know. So that'll come later, but just a little preview for you.
Yay.
For that. Yeah.
Don't fall in.
After this day, I probably want to.
Did she say after this day she'll probably want to?
Yeah.
I understand that.
Can I also go, since we're not really doing anything?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm probably just gonna do 1 or 2 more,
Okay.
and then we'll be done.
Wait, what's up? Oh wait, that clock's not right.
No, we'd like 10 more minutes.
Okay.
That means I need to finish my water.
Finish it.
Okay, so the good news is I only need like a 37.3 on the government test to maintain an A in the class. The bad news is I'm not feeling very confident in what I know.
I just want to know why they thought this was okay.
I kinda wanna hear you like scream at them at lunch on Thursday. It's always entertaining.
to watch.
Yeah.
This just irks me. Like the fact that it won't even go back into a cube. Every time I think I get close.
I know what you're talking about now. I was standing at the counter and the air fresheners went off, and so I just saw like something glowing.
And it's
but
so strong.
And I thought someone was like, cause it went. I thought someone was like laughing and like spraying Febreze on me or something. I was like, what in the world?
I know.
I was like,
And I still continue to go in that first stall.
I went in it too, and I was like, what in the world?
That's why, like, the one day, like, the second I walked in there, I was like, great. So I was, like, sitting
know.
like this. I was like,
Also, I'm getting out of here before it smells too bad.
yeah, like, it's not a bad smell. It's just
a
very
lot.
strong.
Yeah. It scared me though.
It's also, like, I've literally felt it, like, in my face. I'm like,
I like saw the fog and I was like, what? Like, I checked, I was like, is anyone in here? Cause that was scary.
it goes off, like, every 15 minutes. There was one day I had gone in the bathroom, like, 2 different times, like, in the morning and then the afternoon. And it went off on me both times. Ugh. Oh, no.
It's like,
I'm back to life.
Virginia, do you know the boxes for the government test? Lucky you.
coin money, declare war.
Josh, do you want to try to fix this one?
Nah, I don't know how to do that.
I don't either.
I mean, I might be able to get it back into an almost cube shape.
Have to
But-
rip it apart and put it together again.
It wouldn't be solved.
That was too annoying. I'm not ripping that thing apart again.
How long are we staying at Starbucks, do you know?
Probably. Well, I don't even know. But yeah, I need to study these things. Can you help me?
Why
study
are y'all
these?
going to Starbucks?
Oh well, we're going to Starbucks require Virginia has a study hall. So I
Well,
can-
yeah, I know. I meant like, but why are you
Yeah, I
going
don't
to
know,
choir?
Just for fun.
Yeah. Just like a free day.
Who's all in that class? You, Zach.
Mason, Charlotte, Aaliyah, and a bunch of 8th graders.
Who's Aaliyah?
She was a junior.
I don't know if she's a junior or a sophomore.
What does she look like?
She has glasses. She's a bit on the larger side, I guess.
I can't picture her.
White.
Oh wait, she's a sophomore.
Oh,
I was thinking of a different person.
She's the one that's good friends with Charlotte, I think. I know
Who?
what you're talking about.
I don't know. I think
Aaliyah.
like everyone's good friends with Charlotte.
Yeah.
Okay. Cell phones and life expectancy. A survey of the world's nations in 2004 shows a strong positive correlation between percentage of the country using cell phones and life expectancy in years at birth. Does this mean that cell phones are good for your health?
Wait, but these were like
No.
these were like before smartphones. These were like the flip phones that it's talking about.
Why, Virginia?
Well, just because, like,
It's really simple.
it doesn't affect each other, right? Like the causation thing or whatever.
Yes, that's part of it. So, no, countries with a higher percentage of cell phone use also tend to have higher life expectancy. That correlation does not equal causation. What might explain this strong positive correlation?
Maybe just
What?
No, I don't think that's it.
I don't know. I'm failing a lot today.
I know the answer.
Is it just because like a lot of people in like the U.S. I don't
Specifically
know.
the U.S.
Okay, I don't know. Say it, Josh.
It's the world, okay?
Shall I say it?
Chris, you
Sure.
said that
It's
negative
because like
I said
countries
what?
that have access to the cell phones probably also have access to better healthcare and whatnot.
Right.
Well, that's what I was trying to say.
It's not.
Right.
It's not.
Well,
The
I-
wealth of a
That's what I
country.
would've said.
Whatever. Josh, you have to wait for me to go to Starbucks.
Impacts the percent of cell phone use
Oh wait, so is it because the wealth of a country impacts the percent
and
of
life
cell
expectancy.
phone use and life expectancy?
Yes.
I knew it.
No, whatever. That's what I was trying to say with the U.S. I was like,
Why?
Like, obviously, a first world country is going to have a higher life expectancy than a third world country, and thus, they also probably have more cell phones in a first world country than a third world country, so that's why. So, what we would say is that wealth could be a lurking variable.
you said that, wouldn't you, Chris?
Yeah. I know I have a crazy range.
All right, the bell's about to ring, so we're gonna go ahead and stop there. Number 7 on the next page is this exact question, so you can just put a cross out through it.
Huh?
I think.
Oh.
Does it say? It says making
Conditions?
sure I didn't edit it.
Oh, it says conditions to check before a linear regression.
No, like number 7.
So, oh yeah.
I was like, unless I change something, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same question. So, but yeah, so we won't have to do that one. But we might be able to finish this tomorrow. Some of it's on the calculator, so it might take us till Friday. We'll see.
I kind of like these though. This
But
kind of
yeah.
makes sense.
I think this stuff is easier.
You say that every time I get it.
No, like I think this is easier than like the last unit.
And
Like-
we talk about the last year. You're like, yeah, this is actually one of the easier units, and I was like, I kind of get it.
The first
Every
one
time.
was the hardest.
No, I didn't really think a lot of that stuff was like. I mean, I think like the outlier stuff is easy, but
Yeah.
if you use your calculator functions, it can be easy. But